Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Crazy Style Reviews from the Inside. Today we are in a 2016 Volkswagen Jetta SE with a 170 horsepower TSI motor. I haven't been driving this car for too long. This is only the fifth day, and I can talk to you about the interior, and I can say that the interior looks extremely boring in this car. I believe it's one of the worst interiors I've ever had under my hands. I mean, you get in the car, you see these two deep gauges. They even look fairly nice, but as soon as you start looking around in the rest of the car, you see this dashboard that is completely flat. The material in here, it resembles some sort of leather, but it's a hard plastic. It feels very cheap. And even the passenger side, after you do this curve in here it's completely flat. It doesn't look nice at all. It's a very simple design. In here, I mean, look how flat it is in here. It looks like you're supposed to put a plate and the silverware and have a meal in there. There is really no design in this dashboard. Even when you look at the air vents, the only thing that they did, they put this little trim around that even squeaks. I mean, it's a cheap plastic that squeaks, and then you look at the vents and they're all perfectly square. I mean, look at this. They have just 90 degrees corners. There is really no design anywhere in this car. It looks just done to be functional. And the more you look into it, the more you realize that this is the exact philosophy of whoever designed this car. Look at the radio. All the buttons, they have the same exact shape. All these 6 and also these 2 in here, they just printed different things on it, but it's the same buttons. And then you have these 4 that they repeat each other. I mean, it's just a boring design. And let me turn on the car and let me show you. I mean, even the display itself is just one of those cheap digital display where you can even see all the pixels on it. I don't know if you can see in the video. It looks like this type of stuff that you used to see in the early 2000s. And when you go down here, you find the dials for the air conditioner, and it's like these things that you used to have in the 1990s when you spin the wheel and it makes these clicks, and it doesn't even feel firm. I don't know if you can see, it jiggles to it. I mean, it just doesn't feel nice. It's perfectly functional. It's very German. It's like, car doesn't have to look nice, needs to work perfect. This works good. No need to design. Basically, that's the feeling that I'm getting in here. There is really no design anywhere. Even when you look down here, you see the start button in here, and it's a perfect square. All the buttons in here, honestly, they're perfect squares, one beside the other. There is no design to anything. It's like if everything is being done to be functional. Like this digital display, it's perfectly rectangular in the middle of 2 nice round gauges, and you have this almost a square display with the digital segments in it, like the displays that you used to see in the 1990s. There is really no looks in anything of the design of this car. And the more you look around, the more you realize that it's just done because it had to be done, but not because it needs to look nice. Look even at the doors. These door panels, it's hard plastic. It's not comfortable when you drive. And this seam in here, it's a fake seam because it just changes the type of pattern from here to here, but it's the same panel. It's a cheap plastic. In here we find again the fake carbon fiber that there is even in here on the dashboard. It's like a fake carbon fiber, but it's plastic. There is really no design to it. It's perfectly functional. The car, I cannot say that the car works bad. The car works actually great. You drive it, and the engine has a very low grunt. It's like, whoa. It never never revs up. It's not one of those screaming engines. As much as I stomped the throttle, I never been able to go beyond the 6,000 RPMs. It's a very low grunt, but it's got a fairly good performance. And as far as driving on the highway, the gas mileage is phenomenal. Actually, I noticed that driving at 70 miles an hour, I was doing about 36 to the gallon. But driving at 85, I managed to get 40 to the gallon, even 41. And I drove a good chunk on the highway at 85 miles an hour. The car feels great. The suspensions are stiff. And the car works great as long as you drive on the highway. But as soon as you start taking some curves, the car doesn't handle so good. At the end of the story, this car uses a very basic suspension system. It uses the MacPherson suspension. It's just about the simplest geometry that you can have in a suspension system. And as much as it can work great, as much as you go straight, it doesn't work great as soon as you start taking curves. It doesn't handle so good on the curves. And to make things worse, this car does not have anywhere a button to turn off the ESC. I cannot turn off the stability control in this car for nothing. The stability control is on. The suspensions are awful. So the stability control, as I drive, enters in the picture a lot. It intervenes multiple times a day as I drive. It keeps correcting the lack of performance of these suspensions. It's definitely not nice. So as far as my concern, this car doesn't have an ESC off button. The interiors, they look as flat as a dinner table. There is no design. It looks very boring. It's junk. To me, in personal opinion, this car is a piece of junk, fairly overpriced. Like I said, the plastics, they feel hard. They don't have design. Everything is flat, square. Squares everywhere, even more squares down here. It's just lacking of looks. This car is not welcoming when you come in. And the only thing that is good as doing is driving on the highway and give you a great gas mileage. But if you want to have some fun driving around some curves, this is definitely not the car that you want to buy. So definitely I would just scrap this car. So Volkswagen, sorry, but this one, it's a really bad one. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Thanks everybody for watching, and see you next time. Ciao!